Just the wind, she mumbled to herself, or the usual sounds of an old house, but the sound didn't stop. It came again. This wasn't a normal noise from the wind. It felt like someone was moving in the room. Her heart began to race. She got up and turned on the lights, checked everything, but found nothing, only silence, a deep silence. It was as if there was a void in the house, and something was lurking there. "I'm just tired," Elif thought, lying down in bed, but she couldn't fall asleep. With her eyes closed, she tried to focus on the shadows in the room. Slowly, as she cracked her eyes open, she noticed a movement near the window. A shadow passed for a brief moment, as if something had moved quickly. Elif sat up immediately, nervously scanning every corner of the room. There was nothing, but deep inside, something told her that something was wrong. Her heartbeat quickened. Were the shadows just a product of her imagination, or were they really moving? For a moment, her eyes focused on one of the dark corners. That's when she realized the shadows were no longer just shadows. They were turning into figures. She heard a sound. At first, it was faint, like a whisper. Then it grew louder. The sound coming from the shadows was eerie and chilling. As Elif nervously looked around, the sound became clearer. "Who's there?" she asked, her voice trembling. But the only response was a laugh that was not human, deep and cruel. In that moment, a wave of fear surged through Elif. Was the source of the sound a creature moving closer? Or was it just her imagination? Slowly, she checked again to make sure she was alone in the room. She quickly turned on the lights and checked every corner. She found nothing, but something felt off. The sound was still there. It was as if something was waiting in every corner, hidden in the shadows. The atmosphere grew colder. Then, everything fell into a deep silence. But this silence was even more terrifying. Now, there was only one sound: a deep, ragged breath that didn't belong to a human. That breath was right behind Elif. Suddenly, Elif froze. She slowly turned around and scanned the corners of the room, fear in her eyes. But there was nothing. "It's just a hallucination," she thought, trying to calm herself. But in that moment, she felt cold, heavy hands pressing against her back. A firm touch, a cold grip. Elif wanted to scream, but her mouth was dry. Nothing came out. With her eyes shut tight, she bolted out of the room and ran outside into the dark path. But the sounds grew louder. Footsteps, the sound of someone chasing her, grew nearer. In the shadows, something was following her. Her heart pounded in her chest. As she ran, she heard that deep, suffocating breath right behind her. Elif searched for an escape, but with each step, the dark figure behind her grew closer. Suddenly, she reached the edge of the river. Behind her, a scream echoed. Elif paused for a moment, her gaze caught by movement in the shadows. At that moment, something seemed to touch her from behind. Her eyes widened, her breath stopped, and then it was over. The shadow's mystery became reality. The darkness swallowed Elif whole. For even scarier stories, just don't forget to follow.